Please have a seat or stand or whatever you want to do. Welcome to the City Commission meeting of Monday, June 22nd. It is 5:33. Commissioner Hurley is going to give the invocation. Please rise.
Dear Lord, once again, we're very thankful for the opportunity to come together as the residents of Leesburg to discuss the business and the future of our community. We ask and pray for your direction tonight, your guidance and your wisdom as we do our very best to endeavor to accomplish the things that would work best for us. We pray for all of our military, we pray for all of our first responders that you would keep your hand upon them, watch over them. And we pray for our president and our government that our nation would once again be strong and overcome the obstacles we're facing at this time. We ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no proclamations tonight. There are no presentations. We are going to open the floor for public comments. Please realize that you're definitely entitled to speak, but the comments are limited to 3 minutes apiece. At that time, you will be stopped and asked to be seated. If you like to speak, please line up over here, and we can get started.
Mayor, are you wanting them to speak now on later events, or do you want to wait until we get to the partnership to have them speak?
If it starts to get too long, we can start to cut it, okay? Go ahead, Tracy, yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners, Mayor, City Manager. My name is Tracy Samples. I am the Downtown Leesburg Business Association President, and my address is 605 West Magnolia Street, Leesburg. On behalf of its Downtown Leesburg Business Association, resolution of support for the Leesburg Partnership, Resolution 0005, whereas the Downtown Leesburg Business Association supports the Central and Historic Business District, whereas the Downtown Leesburg Business Association supports organizations committed to enhancing business development, whereas the Downtown Leesburg Business Association strives to partner with civic and governmental organizations committed to enhance fiscal responsibility to the city of Leesburg, whereas the Downtown Leesburg Business Association supports the Leesburg Partnership's effort in partnering with other organizations and the city of Leesburg efforts to bring citizens, visitors, and potential new residents together. Now, therefore, the Downtown Leesburg Business Association supports the efforts to assist the Leesburg Partnership in its missions to enhance the quality of life to the city of Leesburg, in unanimous support of the Executive Board of the Downtown Leesburg Business Association. Signed by me, Tracy Samples, President. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak?
David, sir, I would like to speak.
3 minutes, please.
Yes. David Serdar, 66 Winter Green Drive, Lincoln Park, Florida, 34731. Commissioners, God bless you. I went to a school board administration meeting the other day. I'm worried about Leesburg's downtown. My parents, saints to me, everybody's parents is. And my father passed away 2 years ago on Flag Day. And, he was a principal at the same school he went to as a child. 30
Please address the
years
commission.
of service as a teacher. Taught me. Well, Uncle Larry, my godfather, he was a teacher at the same school district, 64, North Chicago, Illinois, across the street from Great Lakes Navy Base. My dad was the baby brother of the Illinois Racehorse Coach, Paul Serdar, that fought the mob. They say I'm the most like it. The mob won in the very first free trade act. They got him back. He was a furrier, opened the doors of furriers. It's election season this year. Little girls grow up. We die. We pray about it. You know what? I'm a great golfer, but that's just a game. 9/11, I was on a major Wisconsin State Golf Association. Who's giving me a thank you? You know, I'm a sports player. David Lyons lost his son, David Lyons Jr. You know, our society needs to change. Plastic bags, I'm here. Plastic straws, I'd like to get rid of. You know, Buddy Dyer's done it down in Orlando. I worked with Buddy Dyer, Chris Castro's office. I've been to Clearmont. City manager, Brendan Gray, knows Chris Castro. The mayors all know each other. You know, I've been to Eustis, Tavares, Mount Dora, Clearmont, Mineola, Lake County, Marion County, Suffolk County, been to Tallahassee twice. And aides of the governor have come to talk to me. I got a bottle law in here, a beverage container deposit law. I've got other ideas, but the plastic straws, that's what you guys can do right now. Or the venues, you know, baseball was just done the other day with the Lightning. I watch it. Chuck's got a great thing going over there. You know, I have met a lot of people in the area. I've done a lot of churches. You know, I'm praying for everybody. You know, everybody's life matters. Everybody's. You know, bottle law, beverage container deposit law. You know, we could call the governor. I got the number right on my car over there. That number does go to the governor. And I got 52 cards that go to props. I work with Brenda Burnett and prop number 9, Lexi Matra, the First Lady's aide. You know, bottle bill on top of the cans. If it's not bottled in Florida, if it's bottled in Florida, it doesn't have it. But hey, when I was a kid, they were pop bottles. I'm from Waukegan, Illinois, Jack Benny's hometown. I'm only 39. I'm from Libertyville, Illinois, where I was ran as a Green Party candidate. I haven't stopped for a kid's picture. I voted for Obama. I walked in a parade. I taught the people where the garbage goes. In my book, only trash litters. We got to start somewhere, small steps. But if anybody wants to ban straws, hey, around the county, around the state, cities and counties were banning plastic bags. One time you started with tins and plastic straws.
Thank you,
Allow
Mr.
me to
Sedor.
stop it.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Sedor.
Thank you.
Can we get the fan shut off? Shut off the fan? The overhead, yeah. Yeah, please. That helped last time.
36 years.
Okay, we're having the AC shut down because that helped the last time, being able to hear.
We can't shut, safety-wise, you can't shut down the AC. You need circulating air. Yeah, you can't do that.
We're addressing that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're addressing it.
Testing, testing. Not very.
Not at all.
Hey, is it just the podium mic that's all? Put your mics close to you, guys. It's yours.
Yes, my name is James Jennels, and I understand there's a couple of events that are in question. One would be the 4th of July celebration, which I myself am in favor of, and I hope that many of you are too, because this is to celebrate our independence, which I think is pretty important. And I understand Mount Dora is going to do it. There may be other cities in the area that aren't doing it, but I think that we ought to be one of the ones that do celebrate our independence. And it'd be a good opportunity for us to spend some time with our neighbors and just enjoy each other's company. And then the second item that I wish to address is the Bike Week. I understand the Leesburg Bike Fest. I understand that it's in question also. I believe there's a couple different reasons perhaps. But here again, I think that it's a good time for our friends and neighbors to get together and just enjoy each other's company. I actually have friends that come from out of town, and I'm sure many of you do too, to enjoy this event along with you. I have friends that come from St. Pete, Port Orange, Ormond, and New Smyrna. All come here to enjoy this event. And I think it's probably good for the downtown businesses as well. Because when those people come to town, they spend their hard-earned dollars right here in Leesburg. And not just downtown, but anytime they're buying fuel in our city limits, that money those tax dollars go into the city coffers so that they can afford to do nice projects perhaps like this one. And
Mr.
improve
Jones,
our sidewalks and
Mr.
add
Jones,
sidewalks.
Mr. Jones,
stuff
could
like
you address the commission, please, and talk into the mic so everybody can hear you? Thank you.
And I do believe that we should have these events. I mean, we've had other events in the downtown area, and I don't believe they were in question. They were organized with our police department so that it could be done safely, and they had traffic control and everything else. Our police department did a very good job with that event, and I believe, and I've seen them in many years past take care of the 4th of July event with little to no problem whatsoever. And we've made so many improvements to this area right here. To not have the event would be a shame, honestly. I mean, Ski Beach is actually usable now. It's got access over there for what? If we're not going to have events, why did we do all that? And this as well. So I'd like to close in saying that I hope that many of you are here to support these two events. I was at the last. Thank you. I was at the last commission meeting, and we had discussed plastic straws amongst other items, and the crowd was nowhere near this large. As a matter of fact,
Address the commission, please.
The chairs were turned this way, and the commission sat right up here. So they expected a turnout, and actually there's a few faces missing from the crowd, but I think they're here in heart.
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Gentles. Thank you. It's
thank you.
Gentles. And I am a resident of the city of Leesburg, and I've lived in Lake County for 45 years. So I've been coming to the both celebrations since I can remember. Anyhow, thank you.
Thank you. Everybody in the room, we're going to hold off on the partnership comments until the actual item comes up, okay? Because we know a lot of people want to speak about that, and you'll all be able to speak. But is there anybody that wants to bring up anything else non-partnership right now? Sir, are you coming up to speak? We have somebody running up from the back.
So it was about the resolution that was not the partnership and not on the consent agenda. Would you like to hear about that now or wait until the items later in the meeting?
Okay, it's not the partnership, right?
It is not, and it's not on the consent agenda. Would you like to hear it now or later? 6F.
Oh, no, just let him talk about it.
Oh, we can do it when it comes up. I'll be glad to give you time. Absolutely, okay?
I just
Thank
wanted
you.
to clarify. All right, thanks.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay, then we're going to move ahead. And each of the items, by the way, you do have time, 3 minutes, Mr. Sedor, to address on those issues. We're going to move to the consent agenda. Routine items are placed on the consent agenda to expedite the meeting. If the commission or staff wish to discuss any item, the procedure is as follows. 1, pull the item from the consent agenda. 2, vote on the remaining items with 1 roll call vote. And 3, discuss each pulled item and vote by roll call. Are there any items that you wish pulled tonight?
Not for me.
None for me.
5C4.
5C4.
I'm good.
You okay?
Yes.
Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept all others?
So moved.
Yep. Okay. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
I need to abstain.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 5C4. Can we be introduced, please?
Introduce her and recommend
Oh,
read by
sorry, that
title.
was on the. Can you change that to yes?
To yes.
Sorry, I thought we were on 5C4.
Okay.
Go ahead with the motion, please.
Recommend to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a utility construction reimbursement pioneering agreement with CG Land Investments, LLC for construction of a wastewater force main and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Need a second?
Second. I have property under contract that would benefit from this item.
Could everybody speak into their microphone? Make it a little closer, please. Is there anybody else wishes to speak on this? Anybody in the audience wish to speak about the 5C4? It's a wastewater force main which is being put in place. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck abstain. Commissioner Hurley?
Commissioner Hurley, vote.
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, we're going to move to public hearings and non-routine items. 6A, would somebody introduce, please?
I'll introduce now to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, repealing Article 1 and Article 2 of Chapter 14 of the Code of Ordinances pertaining to the local business tax and business tax receipts, amending Sections 25-292, 25-424, 26-1, and 26-32 of the Code of Ordinances to eliminate references to business tax receipts, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Thank you.
First reading.
It is a first reading. Is there any discussion on this item? Does the audience have any discussion on repealing the local business tax in Leesburg? This is the first reading. It will move to July 13th for the conclusion. 6B, somebody introduce, please.
I'll introduce, ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, adding Sections 22-129 and 22-130 to the Code of Ordinances, regulating discharges into the city wastewater system of amalgam from dental facilities and pharmaceuticals from healthcare facilities, requiring installation of certain equipment by dental facilities no later than July 14, 2020, to filter materials from wastewater, providing definitions, providing exemptions for certain dental facilities, repealing conflicting ordinances, providing a savings clause, and providing an effective date.
Motion, please.
First reading.
Okay, this is the first reading on putting in filters in dental offices to help strain out the amalgam so that it doesn't get into the water system. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak about this?
Madam Mayor, I have a couple questions if someone can help me. How much does this cost for a dental office to install or pharmaceutical office?
I don't. Do you know the answer to that, DC?
was that it would run about $800 per year for this modification. And for clarity, we have in our sewer use ordinance a provision that's required this for a while. The EPA ruling was passed in 2017. The Florida statute has only come, I think, in the last 8 months, but we've known it's coming. We've had a provision in our sewer use ordinance. What this does is provide a little more specific guidance than what we had before. So the requirement to have a separator has been there, and we've been not enforcing it, but getting dental offices prepared for this for quite some time.
And that was my question, because we got a July date, which gives them a month. So I just want to make sure that the dental offices are aware that this is coming, and we don't go out next month and say you don't got your $800 filtration system more in your office. So I just want to make sure we have contacted pharmaceutical dental companies to let them know this was actually coming in our enforcement. You know, I would hate for us to knock on someone's door and just say, I never heard about it.
Yes, sir. We actually started working with the dental offices in 2017 when it first came out. And as I said, our existing ordinance has a clause that talks about mercury recovery, which is the provision that this is dealing with.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay, this has been the first reading. It will be moved for the second reading on July 13th. 6C. Somebody introduce, please.
I'll introduce, ask to be read by title only.
An ordinance of the City of Leesburg, Florida, extending the expiration date set by ordinance number 00-29 and later extended to September 30th, 2003, then extended again to September 30th, 2006, and then extended again to September 30th, 2009, then extended again to September 30th, 2012, then extended again to September 30th, 2015, then extended again to September 30th, 2018, extended once more to September 30th, 2020, for the participation by the City of Leesburg in the Municipal Service Taxing Unit established by Lake County to fund ambulance and emergency medical services and providing an effective date.
Can we have a move for approval, please?
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Is there any discussion from the audience? This will not cost the City of Leesburg anything. It's just an ordinance that has been in place for many years, and we just needed to renew it. Okay, 6D.
We need to vote.
Oh, guess we do. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, moving to 6D. Somebody introduce, please.
I'll introduce it. Recommended by read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the submission of an application, acceptance if awarded, for funding for the hardening of the City of Leesburg Police Department headquarters through the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Mitigation, CDBG-MIT, program. Said application to be submitted to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for the funding allocated through the Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program, CFHP, and providing an effective date.
Good, sounds good.
Motion.
Move for approval.
Second.
Anybody from the audience wish to talk about this? This is a, excuse me, an application that we're going through from the state to be able to make some improvements to the Emergency Operations Center in Leesburg. Again, it will not cost the City of Leesburg anything. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6E. Would somebody introduce, please?
I'll introduce. Has to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, authorizing the submission of an application, acceptance if awarded, for funding for the hardening of the City of Leesburg Griffin Road facility through the 2020 Community Development Block Grant Mitigation CDBG-MIT program. Said application to be submitted to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity for the funding allocated through the Rebuild Florida Critical Facility Hardening Program, CFHP, and providing an effective date.
Move for approval.
Second.
Any discussion? This is the same issue as the past one, only this would be for the city electric department. No cost to the city. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. 6F. Somebody introduce, please.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Resolution of the City Commission of the City of Leesburg, Florida, declaring the public necessity for acquiring fee simple title through condemnation by right of eminent domain to certain real property owned by Rich Lee Investments LLC and Vermont LLC as their interests may appear, described generally as tax parcel number 26-19-24-3900-055-00301, Lake County, Florida, located at 307 East Magnolia Street, Leesburg, Florida, and tax parcel 26-19-24-3900-055-00200, Lake County, Florida, located at 311 East Magnolia Street, Leesburg, Florida, directing the city attorney to institute and prosecute appropriate condemnation proceedings, including a quick taking of the fee title to the property, providing a severance clause, and providing for an effective date.
Do we have a motion, please?
Move for approval.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Minner is going to discuss this issue.
Yeah, just to give the public and the commission information on the purpose of this task. As you know, we're in the phases of building the swimming pool there on Pine Street, and part of that process has been to purchase the apartments that were on Magnolia, which is in the northeast corner of that property. There were about 7 parcels in all in that area, and we were able to purchase 5 of the 7. We weren't able to purchase to date 2 of those 5, and those addresses being 307 Magnolia and 311 Magnolia. We have attempted to reach the owners of this parcels on multiple occasions to issue an offer. We had the properties appraised. I think it was probably the commission's direction to acquire as many of these parcels as we can for the purpose of removing the blight, investing in the blighted area, and then creating a capital improvement project that brings redevelopment and encourages growth in the area. I think it's really a classic example of redevelopment in our community development district. Our final attempt to try to purchase the price, we got the parcels appraised. Fred, was that in August, that date-ish? Is July of this year?
Somewhere around
So
there,
like
yes.
a year, almost a year ago, not of 19. The value of those 2 parcels were $54,000 each. In our attempt to acquire the parcels, we went up to as high as $250,000 of a staff offer and sent a contract to the owners. And still, we didn't get any positive feedback or understanding on why they didn't accept the offer. I then contacted the city attorney to see if we could make some progress, and it turns out that at least the reason that we think that the offers weren't really even received any good feedback from the city was that they are part of another larger lien that the owners have on the parcels with other groups that won't allow these parcels to be unbundled. So then it was my direction to the city attorney to go ahead and use our right of eminent domain to try to grab these parcels. thinking that that process would take some time and probably cost us maybe a little bit less than the offer, but hopefully the time span would coincide with our construction. So the purpose of this resolution is to authorize the city attorney and the city to move forward to try to get the parcels using our right of eminent domain.
Thank you. Any discussion from other commissioners? Yes, sir.
I have packets with appraisals available for each of you.
Okay.
Would that be
Yeah,
okay
that's
for me
fine.
to approach? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, Elise,
Thank you.
remember to ask his name. Remember to give it your name. His name.
Yeah. Mr. Spivey, could you give your name and address, please?
Yes, Mayor. Good evening. My name is Eric Spivey, and I'm a licensed real estate agent. Address 528 Cody Court, Orange Park, Florida 32073. I'm asking you to vote against Resolution 6F. This resolution involves using eminent domain to take 2 parcels on East Magnolia Street, north of the pool project. These parcels are partially owned by a company owned by my brother. Every dollar of taxpayer money is precious. I do not feel that spending hundreds of thousands of dollars for 2 parcels that don't impact the pool project is a wise use of taxpayer money. The agenda memorandum for this resolution says the cost for both parcels plus fees may range from $108,000 to $250,000. These figures grossly underestimate the cost of acquiring these parcels. I have provided you certified appraisals from last year showing the value of each parcel at $109,200, $109,200. I estimate the values have increased about 6%, so that would put it at $232,000. For eminent domain cases, taxpayers have to pay both sides of the case, meaning the city's costs and the property owner's costs. You have to pay for both lawyers, both appraisals. The owners will contest the eminent domain if it proceeds. It will take a long time and be very expensive. These parcels were involved in a cash-out refinance. The lender will charge a significant prepayment penalty totaling almost $90,000 in future interest and fees. I estimate the total cost to the city would be upwards of $350,000. Secondly, I don't think the city will be successful with the eminent domain case, meaning tens of thousands of dollars wasted on lawyers. The City Commission has already reviewed and approved site plans by CPH Engineering that allow for construction of the pool and plenty of parking. This layout in your packet did not include the 2 parcels to the north. They don't interfere with the overall project. Finally, there's a human cost. If you approve this resolution, you are voting to potentially bulldoze 4 units of affordable housing and kick out 4 hardworking tenants. These tenants have leases through late 2021. They're well-built concrete block and they provide affordable housing for decades. Owners have invested in the properties with interior and exterior painting and other upgrades. There's an affordable housing crisis in Leesburg. I think it's worth preserving every single unit of affordable housing in the city. Check Zillow today. There are 39 rentals available in the city. Only 2 of them are priced under $1,000. Most are over $1,500. The 4 units involved in this eminent domain proposal are priced at $550 to $750. I encourage you to vote against this eminent domain resolution since it has no impact on the overall pool project, saves taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars, and preserves affordable housing. Thank you for listening to my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Spivey. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this issue?
Mr. Spivey, are you saying you all have no interest in selling at all?
I'm saying that number one, we do not want to sell. That's correct. And the primary reasons being affordable housing in the city and also the costs we feel are grossly underestimated. Not only the appraisal costs, but also the cost. It was refinanced with a private lending company, and the cost to untangle all of that, it was on a 10-year note, would cost not just the price of the appraisal, but it would cost an additional $90,000. There's a prepayment penalty if you don't keep it for the term of the loan. So yes, you're correct. The owner does not want to sell them, and we've shared that with the city manager. I shared it myself with other city staff, and we don't feel that it's necessary for the pool project to proceed.
Okay, so we definitely want to go forward with our pool project and what the blight that we have in that area, and we're well aware as residents who actually live here, the neighborhoods that we have and how much housing we have and what our needs are. I appreciate you pointing that out, but my question is if maybe you could try to get with your brother and find a way that we could come to an equitable resolution opposed to having to go down these measures. But I don't believe that I understand you have some fees and we could take that in consideration, but you have no interest in any of that, correct?
We don't have an interest in bulldozing affordable housing. And we believe that the pool project, we are in favor of the pool project. We think it's a great idea for the city. But we don't feel like these two notches at the north end of the pool project site are necessary to continue with the pool project site. We love the pool project and we think it's a great addition to the city and we fully support it. But we also support affordable housing, and the city bulldozed, for lack of a better word, 8 units right across from one of the largest employers in the entire county, the hospital. And I'll fight for every single unit of affordable housing that I can. It's not in the city, it's not in the state, but it's not in the city of Leesburg.
Well, we have way more than our share, believe me. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Al, have there been any code enforcement violations on this property?
I believe that, yes, there have been.
I would guess so, okay.
So, I really just like the houses. I would like nothing more than for them to be gone, but more than that, I believe in property rights. I think it's a fundamental right of part of being an American, and if the guy didn't want to sell his property, for whatever reason, it's his property, and I can't support taking something from someone that doesn't want to sell. So as much as I want them gone, I'm never going to support taking someone's property against their will.
Commissioner Christian?
I agree with Commissioner Roebuck. I think it'd probably be cheaper if we just put a nice fence around the project, and it'd probably be much cheaper if we just did it that way. Maybe they'll come around and want to sell later, but spend $90,000 on prepayment penalty, I think. I can find out several other things we can do with $90,000. So.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
May I make a few comments?
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I guess I've been one of the more vocal people about the money we're spending on the pool. I want it done right. I guess I don't want our legacy to be that we don't know how to draw a straight line. I just think we need to get this property right. Secondly, these houses, they're not very attractive properties. My understanding of the condemnation process is, it is a battle of appraisers, so I would like to think we could negotiate this out. I mean, they are going to look at both sides, and we're pretty far apart on value. Most likely the court will split it. So I think it benefits both parties to try to negotiate it out. I will support the condemnation.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Roebuck?
No.
Commissioner Hurley?
Is there any way to, I would actually like to table it and see if we could open up negotiations with them or discussions and bring it back. Is there a way to do that?
You probably could. Can you table it in the middle of the vote?
Commissioner Hurley, the reason this resolution came to you is because Ken Thomas attempted mightily for months to negotiate with them. They would not respond. The city manager approached me. Coincidentally, I was litigating a code enforcement case on another piece of property with the same individual, and was able to approach his attorney in that case and try to get an inroad to start a dialogue, and was rebuffed pretty quickly, just saying we are not selling. And I looked into it, and the gentleman was correct. The reason they're unable to sell is because they entered into what I would consider an improvident mortgage, which has not only the prepayment penalty, but also a provision permitting the mortgage holder to seize effectively all of the proceeds of any sale. So they would have to sell the property, pay the prepayment penalty, and to give up all the money they make off the sale, which means they have no incentive to sell it. So I'm not sure that there's a negotiated way out of this thing. I don't share the gentleman's opinion of the value of the property. It was purchased not very long ago by the same people for a little bit less than the appraised value in the city's appraisals. Mr. Spivey, I respect his position as a licensed real estate agent, but by the same token, it's hard to imagine those things doubled in value over a period of less than a year. So I'm not sure that they're worth what he thinks they're worth, but only a jury will ultimately decide that. It's an expensive process, and as you all know, I almost always recommend against condemnation because of that. But when you've got somebody that won't and probably can't really negotiate meaningfully with you, there's no other choice. And then it comes down to, do you want the property for the project or don't you? And if you do, this is the only way to get it. If you don't, then you can vote this down and proceed with the pool and just fence those off as was suggested earlier.
Yeah, and just to add a couple other things, because I think it's pertinent to your question, Commissioner. Our appraisal said the value of each of those units was $54,000. So we offered at first, I think our initial swag at this was like $115,000, which was above our market value. That $115,000 number was literally a couple of $1,000s over the value that they're on record for buying the apartments. Secondly, this was just, their appraised value was just presented to me this evening. It's the first time I've seen it. So if their argument that each unit was worth $109,200, then that's a total value of $218,400. So they've already received an offer from us for almost $30,000 above that value, which we think is double. So that goes back to the point, will they negotiate in good faith? It doesn't appear. And then I also think you really need to consider, I mean, I don't want to be blatant, but I would really question whether those apartments, whether that's blight, given the type of activity that occurs there in the code enforcement record, or whether that's affordable housing. I would not argue it was affordable housing.
Well, the best indicator of value, did we purchase 7 units around it?
There were seven in total,
that
and
were
we
identical?
got 5 of the 7.
I'm sorry, they were identical, correct?
They were identical.
And we paid about $50,000 each?
Yes.
Okay. I think we have the better appraisal.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
No.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. Okay, 6G. Somebody introduce, please.
I'll introduce and ask to be read by title only.
Consider fireworks and other events to celebrate American Independence Day on July 4th, 2020.
Okay, Mr. Yes, Joe. Did you want to speak, Joe? Shipes? You want to speak? By the way, happy birthday.
Can you hear me? So we're ready to go on July 4th. We're all prepared. The fireworks company, the bands, the ski show, and on the basin, the food vendors, all have agreed to social distancing requirements and setbacks, conditions. We feel like we can put on a safe event on July 4th and would encourage the commission to move forward. We've addressed a concern about the fact that other cities have canceled July 4th and that congestion could be an issue. We have been working with our PD department to run a shuttle system from downtown to Venetian Center area, a free shuttle, asking people to park in downtown and take the shuttle. That is in place if we get approval tonight to move forward. So that's what we're looking for.
Thank you. Did we hear from the police department about this?
Yeah, and as well, let me add to this as well. Rob and I have spoke on this extensively, and I don't think I'm throwing the police department under the bus. But based on the situation, we had some concerns on transportation level. So yes, Police Department. And I would also interject from my office, from me, that based on the activities, 2 weeks ago is totally different than today. And I think the weekend, with where the COVID is now, I think I'm on the record telling you 2 weeks ago that it wasn't a COVID issue, and it was we just need to be concerned about transportation, and I think we were a lot more relaxed. As of this past weekend, I would say you do have a COVID thing you need to be concerned about now, and I think it is probably in the public's interest not to do the fireworks. We've had communities around us cancel. We've had communities around us wait for us. In Groveland tonight, they were on up until, a couple of days ago, or maybe even today, when they announced that they would do fireworks, but with nobody present. So I think you need to take those into consideration as you, unfortunately, have to talk about this matter.
Commissioners, anything?
So I did reach out to the hospital, and Dr. Berger, who's their COO and interim chief medical officer, his feeling was that we should not go forward based on the cases, that they are seeing a significant uptick, and that it is more dangerous than before because they're seeing a much larger amount of asymptomatic cases, which can lead to more spreading. So they felt that from that standpoint, it was not a good idea.
Thank you. Anybody else? Let's go ahead and
Well, I'll
vote
go.
on this.
I mean,
What's that?
I said I'll be happy to go. I support having it. I've made no bones about that. I do understand concerns, and this is a subject that we've been talking about for the last 3 months, and it goes up and down. I do understand that in Florida there was an uptick in it. Majority of that uptick was down in Miami and in more of the metropolitan areas, which Leesburg is not one of. I don't really follow suit with what the other cities around us are doing. I think we're Leesburg and we stand on our own. And so, it's independence. We have so many issues going on in our country right now. To not celebrate our freedom and our independence and to put something on that brings us as a community back together. We have a lot of things in place that we're doing to take steps and precautions. People have the ability to take additional precautions themselves, but to just say, hey, nobody else is doing it, so I don't think that Leesburg ought to do it, I don't support that. You can go to restaurants. I looked when we got here tonight. We had our chairs, 1 chair per every 6 feet. And, the congregation that's here tonight started getting chairs and pulled them together because we as citizens have some rights, and we have the ability, if I ride the commission meeting with my wife, I should be able to sit with her here at my restaurant, at church. And I just personally feel that there's a way for us to put on a fireworks show. I think that the police chief, along with Joe Shipes and the partnership, has made every kind of angle they can to make sure we have transportation down here. We have shuttles that'll bring them down. We've got the vendors who feel comfortable doing it. We'll space out and make the appropriate steps to keep things safe. So, yes, for me, I'm 110% for celebrating our independence on the 4th of July at Leesburg Venetian Gardens.
Okay, commissioners, a yes vote is the celebration will go on. A no vote is no due to the current situation. We will not support this. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Hurley.
Yes.
Commissioner Christian.
No.
Commissioner Peterson.
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck.
No.
Mayor Dennison.
The deciding vote. Yes.
Thank you.
Not to drag this out more, but I think if we're going to have a 4th of July celebration, I think you need to now have some parameters on what that is. The partnership plan is, and if you don't have this discussion, this is what the assumption is, so I think we need to clarify it as well. the partnership plan that is present is a full day of activities, bounce houses, food vendors, music, fireworks. So I think you need to reinforce if that's your yes vote, or if you want to bifurcate what activities are here, so we have some direction.
Can you give us the highlight of what your agenda
Mr.
was?
Shipes, I'd like it in writing. Please present your plan, hopefully in the next day.
You guys
I know
really-
you've got most of it already, so.
Mayor, I don't mean to interrupt, but there's not that time to come back. You guys need to decide this tonight. Joe, is there anything that I described with the 3-2 vote that you just received? You take that vote as you will have a full day of activity.
Well, our event starts at 6 o'clock in the evening, not a full day, first of all. It starts
Okay,
at
so
6
it's
o'clock.
6
o'clock.
with bounce houses, food
The
vendors,
bouncer
bands,
classes
and
are
fireworks.
actually slides, and it's one person per slide, per kid, and there's sanitizers. The food vendors are going to be spaced somewhere between 75 and 150 feet apart with lines and sanitizers. We have face painters that wear masks and use one brush per child. We have a photo booth that has no props, just a photo and you go. We have the baseball game, which is going on. I don't know the details of that. The ski show, obviously, in the middle of the lake. And we have vendors, for instance, selling flashy stuff, and we'll space them probably 20, 30 feet apart. So that's in the band at the main stage, which will be right out in this area. That's pretty much it.
As long as everybody's good with that.
I mean, it starts at 6 and
6
they've
o'clock.
taken precautions, so yes, I'm
Right.
good with that.
I don't think the city's going to do ice cream. I don't think that was in the plan. And then we also are submitting, we've ordered additional hand washing stations that'll be strategically located throughout the event.
Is there a Leesburg Lightning game?
There is scheduled, but it's my understanding.
Just to let you know, I had discussed this with Mr. Shipes the other day, and he was able to handle all the questions I threw at him as far as the sanitary conditions, the spacing, and everything else. So that's why you got the yes vote
So
from
we
me
have,
tonight.
we have parking at Ski Beach. If you want to remain in your car and watch the fireworks from the car, we have boat parking in the basin. If you want to come by boat, and should be plenty of room for people to spread out in family units and not be on top of each other. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to move to 6H. Somebody introduce, please.
This is again kind of a consideration and discussion item. I provided a report for the City Commission back, I want to say the date was April or May 22nd. This body voted to give the partnership about $150,000 in funding to help supplement them due to the impact by COVID. That $150,000 or so dollars came in 4 forms. One was a direct cash subsidy of $78,120 payable in 4 increments between May and Bike Fest 21. It was to purchase the parking lot owned by the partnership for an estimated value of $60,000 with some parameters around that. It was to absorb partnership utility bills until April, and there was a 4th item on there, which I don't remember. But you add all those items up, it was relief of about $150,000. That was voted on unanimously by this body. Subsequent to that decision, Joe Shipes and Sandy Stokes, the president, are you the president of the partnership? Is your title,
Unfortunately.
Sandy? They came back to me, notified me that they felt that funding was not enough. They're here to ask for funds. I was not given a written request, but a verbal request to be on the agenda. I've had several discussions with Sandy, and in the packets, and if we need to, just for communication purposes, in forming a recommendation from my office to this body, it came up with a spreadsheet to kind of try to figure out expenses and put it in a partnership expenses and put it in a format that was communicable and understandable on their request. And from that spreadsheet, My recommendation to the commission is an incremental approach. It's again very similar to what the action you already took, but there are essentially 4 points to my recommendation in that, which was instead of awarding the partnership the loan which you agreed in the terms of $78,120, it was to pay that all in a lump sum now. So there's a residual balance of the difference, 50 some odd thousand bucks. If you approve the recommendation, they would get a check for that tomorrow. That would give them about $78,000 immediately, which essentially under Sandy's plan, as he's described to me, will get the partnership through to September. In the interim, also recommended that they need to apply for the American CARE Act, which is about the $2 million or $2 trillion, or is it $4 trillion stimulus package that went out. Lake County's share of that is $64 million. So I spoke with Jeff Cole, the county manager, about how that's going to get set up and when that's going to get processed. I believe Jeff has a report that's going to the county commission on that tomorrow. So we encourage the partnership through that motion to apply for those funds. That offsets an expense that we would have to share the entire burden. And I think there were some other actions in there. But essentially that was the recommendation. It's in writing in your packets. I understand that the partnership through Sandy and Joe want to speak to you and have you consider additional funding.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor and gentlemen commissioners, on behalf of the Leesburg Partnership, I want to thank you for your time, not only this evening, but through many meetings that we've all had together recently. I also want to thank Acres Media, who helped us with the PowerPoint presentation, but I don't think I'm going to win you over with the PowerPoint presentation, so I think I'm just going to skip that tonight and try to appeal to you on a different level. I stand before you tonight because I absolutely picked the wrong year to volunteer to be the partnership president. I stand before you because my board of directors ordered me to come back to you for a second time and try again. I've had a lot of sleepless nights about coming here, how to communicate this very important message, how to get you to understand how very important this issue is for the community. Even tonight, as I stand here, I don't know if I'll get it right. I have no experience in doing this, and any shortcomings are entirely my own. So let me begin by saying thank you. The City Commission has done more for this town, and with Bob Bone before you, has done more for this town than any commission that I can even remember. This building is an example of that. And I believe that you all love our town. And they say that actions speak louder than words, and your actions show themselves through what you have done for our community. I think there are many people in this audience tonight that believe that perhaps you all don't get the partnership. I don't think that's true. I do think you understand, and I think you get it. You know, the partnership has had many, many accomplishments over the last 27 years. I can remember vividly the Main Street was overrun with pawn shops when the partnership was formed. And I can remember the first time I met Joe Shipes, which I guess was a couple years into the partnership, when they hired him, and my thought was, what the hell is that guy going to do for downtown Leesburg? So all these years later, we've had $34 million of public and private investment. Over $1 billion of economic impact has resulted from Bike Fest. For every dollar of city and county support, the community has returned 23 additional dollars of revenue to the partnership, all of which has been returned into the community through partnership revitalization projects, events, visioning, all the things that the partnership does. There have been over 150,000 hours of community volunteer support for the partnership. And in the last 10 years, the Bike Fest has the partnership has paid out over $1 million to 60 local organizations for their assistance with Bike Fests. As you know, the partnership shows up quite often encouraging you to spend the taxpayers' money. There hasn't been a single community betterment project in the last 25 years that hasn't had input from the partnership. Some of these projects are simply influenced by staff and volunteers. Some of them are thought up by the partnership. All of them are paid for by you, city, county, and state. All members of our community should be grateful for the projects you've funded, and I know that I am. So how did the partnership get in this mess anyway? The answer to that question starts 27 years ago when the partnership was formed. Many similar organizations are publicly funded with taxpayer dollars and municipal employees. While the city has supported the partnership in every year of its existence, our partnership is not funded primarily in this way. In considering the 23-to-1 return on governmental dollars, it was a good decision for our taxpayers. So the partnership went to work creating and running events. It became very adept at funding itself through events such as Bike Fest, Mardi Gras, craft beer, and the like. The profits from these events are the engine that fuels the partnership. Most of our events are free to attend and many do not make a profit. But because they are good for the community, the partnership absorbs the costs and does them anyway. Last year, with a staff of 3, the partnership ran a total of 34 events. But this business model had a critical flaw. No one thought about what would happen if the partnership couldn't hold any events. For 27 years, literally hundreds of board members never questioned what would happen if we weren't allowed to hold events for an extended period. Sure, we've often considered canceling a single event. Things happen, you move on. None of us had ever lived through a pandemic. None of us ever thought much about it until now. So the collective fault of what the partnership is now dealing with belongs to all those board members, past and present. After all, we have a fiduciary responsibility to leave it better than we found it. No one considered the impact of a pandemic. I know that you understand the partnership because 4 out of the 5 of you have served on our board of directors. I'm here today to ask you to provide financial support totaling $300,000. Many have asked why we need this much money and why we're suddenly broke. The answer lies in the economics of putting on Bike Fest. Many of the costs of Bike Fest, for example, high-end music acts and advertising, must be paid well before the event takes place and are not refundable. People like Brent Michaels don't show up on Saturday night and get paid after the gig. This occurs every year and is a normal part of our cash flow. The only way to prevent this would be to decline to put on Bike Fest entirely. To further compound things, all of the fees paid to the partnership by vendors who sell at Bike Fest and our sponsors had to be refunded. The profitability of Bike Fest has also declined in recent years. In early days, most of our property owners allowed the partnership to use their property for free. Today, most require rent. Added to the various rising costs, attendance has also declined as our traditional motorcycle riders are getting older. To compensate, the partnership has diversified by holding new events, such as balloons on the lake. Again, we fix the problem by holding events. So, in working through the numbers with City Manager Al Minner, he and I approached the task of determining the partnership's needs using 2 completely different methods. Despite this, our results were almost the same. It's my understanding he's going to recommend some things that will fall well short of our request. Mr. Minner produced a spreadsheet, one of which of the tabs was titled A Reduced Level of Service, and it showed the partnership holding many events this fall, like the annual dinner, Balloon Fest, craft beer, and into the spring, Mardi Gras. With COVID-19 cases rising exponentially in Florida, my expectation is that most, if not all, of these events are going to be canceled. This is the reason we are making a request greater than his recommendation. Mr. Minner has advised us to seek a grant from the county. This is something we are eager to do. However, I'm not optimistic it will be funded to the level that we need. In fact, the county's grant program hasn't even been designed yet. Many decisions still need to be made, including who can apply and what the limits of the grant will be. At this point, a county grant is just a big hypothetical. The partnerships would certainly be very grateful to receive your assistance based on Mr. Minder's recommendations. However, my job is not to ask just for Mr. Minder's recommendation, but to make the request that the Partnership Board has asked me to make you. As I said above, we're requesting a financial package totaling $300,000. The amount above Mr. Minder's recommendation is due to the event net profits from what we believe will be canceled events. This additional amount would only be needed if the partnership can't hold this fall and spring's events. Any net profits on these events would reduce the need from the city. Whatever grant money, if any, the partnership can obtain, not just from the county, but from any source, would also reduce the need for these additional funds from the city. So above Mr. Minder's recommendation, we're requesting an additional $150,000 that is conditional and would be reduced for every dollar of event net profit and grant money that the partnership could generate through all events through Mardi Gras. We're not trying to profit from the city, we're simply trying to survive. The partnership has made major belt-tightening adjustments to its budget, including laying off 2 of our 3 employees and substantially reducing the compensation and benefits of the remaining sole employee. I consider all 3 of these people my friends and would like to apologize to Cat Reel and Joni Marsty for not being able to save their jobs. As partnership president, I feel personally responsible, and I'm truly sorry. Your investment would also buy the partnership time to re-engineer its revenue stream so that it's not dependent on event revenue, not so dependent on event revenue. However, if the funds over and above Mr. Minder's request should be granted, the partnership would like to consider hiring our Main Street manager back. This is a specific request that has been made by many of our downtown merchants. Without the additional funding, the partnership will have no choice but to proceed with only 1 employee on staff. In working through the process of coming you to today, one of the critical comments that I've received has been about transparency. The partnership's 990 tax returns are posted on its website every year. Currently, these go back to 2012. Additionally, our financial statements are available to the city upon request. Commissioner Roebuck has twice requested financial records, which were promptly delivered to him. The partnership is certainly open to future further processes that would enhance our transparency and help assure the public that their investment in the partnership is being spent responsibly. In conclusion, I want to thank you for your time today and hope that you will grant our request of a $300,000 financial aid package. Thank you.
Thank you. Any commissioners? Commissioners' comments?
Well, I'll just start off because when I got a lot of emails, phone calls from different individuals, once I communicated that we just last month voted to give the partnership $150,000. Most people who was writing the letters didn't even know that we had given the partnership $150,000. So when they say support, many didn't know that the city grants the partnership a free use for building, plus pays the electric bill every month for the partnership. So I was kind of baffled that people who was calling didn't even understand the level of support the city had given. Now, personally, I think it was irresponsible, unfair to our city manager to even consider this request, knowing that next month we go into a budgetary process. So as commissioners, we have to look at this entire city and determine where do we want to spend money. For us to even consider another $150,000, knowing that just last meeting we raised everybody who owned property fire assessment fee by about $20 per homeowner and commercial fees for an increase of $315,000. So we just raised everybody's fire tax last meeting by $300,000. So now we come this meeting and say, let's go find an extra $150,000 above what we already gave last month. You know, it's kind of offensive that going through a budget process, we have employees, we have departments that I'm sure have gone to the city manager with requests and probably been denied. The guy that's cutting the grass probably can't get a raise, or the new playground equipment at Susan Street probably going to be denied. But here we are considering without looking at the total package of an entire city budget. So for John Christian as a commissioner, I must look at the entire city and what our needs are. I would be real irresponsible to vote on something tonight, come through a budget process next month, and can't get necessary things for our city because we just spent $300,000. So it's kind of unfair that many of you weren't here when we came and we granted $150,000. Wasn't much discussion, it was unanimous. Then to come back less than a month and say, hey, give me another $150,000. The city manager has been in constant contact with the county manager, trying to work a deal with the CARE funding that came from the federal government. That's what it's for businesses impacted by COVID-19. Even talked to Commissioner Sullivan today, who simply said that he will support the partnership in getting money. They even voted that nonprofits can qualify for the CARES Act. This is what that federal money is for, not for Leesburg taxpayers to start giving out money to nonprofits in the middle of a budget year. And everybody knows we have a budget process for nonprofits. They get a whole day to come and request these dollars. And the partnership gets more money than any nonprofit that we grant at about $34,000. So when I did the math, I looked and said, a $78,000 loan that we voted on a loan last meeting, now it's saying, hey, don't even worry about repaying it. Just give it to without a loan. So that's $78,000 cash. That should get you to 3 months. You get $34,000 from the city nonprofit. That should get you for another 2 months. We're now in December. Then we got $60,000 we're paying for a lot that the partnership paid $30,000. We're paying twice as much, less than 5 years. I think the city attorney said land goes up twice the value in 1 year. Well, this land went up twice its value in 5 years. So that should get you almost to Bike Fest in April. So when we say we don't have the money, this is $150,000 pre-budget that this commission granted to the partnership. Now to come back a month later and simply say, give another $150,000, and we say transparency, I think that Mr. Robo got the documents, but I didn't get the financials. I think we all should have the financials to look through the financials and see, is it really broke? We've seen Leesburg Partnership 2 LLC, Leesburg Partnership 3 LLC, Leesburg Partnership 4 LLC. I don't know if it's $1 in those accounts or $1 million in those accounts. So if you're gonna come and ask for another $150,000, I think that should have been explained and exposed to the commission and the residents to make sure that this is really an emergency situation. No other nonprofit could come to this city commission and ask for $150,000 without getting some checks and balances. In fact, when the CDC came to get a grant, an older house given to for the CDC, we had to give not just a $990, but monthly financials and a breakdown of where every dollar was going to be spent. So it's just unfair that I see that we can just grant money without having any real explanation on the fact that we need it. And it's great. We all support the partnership. We've been supporting the partnership for 20 plus years since I've been off the commission before I got on the commission. It was even a fact when the lawsuit was set up with the CDC, it was $30,000 for 10 years. Well, the partnership wrote a letter and simply said, we want what they got. And they got $30,000 for 10 years. No protest, no lawyer, no marching, no lawsuit, just simply, we want it. So the city of Leesburg has always supported the partnership. So the notion that we're not supporting, we're defunding the partnership is the farthest thing from the truth. This is not even in our budget season. That's next month. And this request should have been vetted through the budget process to make sure that when we give these funds, that we look at the entire city and what the needs are from the employee standpoint, from the governmental standpoint, to make sure that our tax dollars are spent in a proper manner. So personally, I just think that the $150 that we granted should be what should be given and nothing above that in the same terms we voted on at the last meeting. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Roebuck?
Sure. First of all, would like to thank the partnership for being as transparent as they were. They were very forthcoming with all the information that I asked for. My issue with the request is that the way it's being framed. First of all, I think we tried to scare people and tell them that, if you don't all show up tonight, we're not going to ever have Bike Fest. And that's entirely false. We're going to have Bike Fest. They told us when we gave them the last amount of money that they could do Bike Fest with that money. That was what was told to this commission. This commission supports Bike Fest. This commission has never talked about not doing Bike Fest. That's not what this is about. Then we get the result, well, we need $300,000. Okay, well, what are you going to do with it? Well, we're not going to hire back one of our employees. We're going to hire back our Main Street manager only. So we're going to have 2 employees. Well, $150,000 with 2 employees plus operating cost, that gets you a full 12 months. True, Sandy?
Yes, Commissioner.
Okay, 12 months, $150,000, which we've given them. So that gets them past the next Bike Fest. Now, the next Bike Fest, they're going to make more money because $78,000, one of the reasons they don't have cash, that's deposits. Those are good deposits. So the next Bike Fest should be profitable. Even though it was a loan, we were very upfront that if Bike Fest doesn't happen, you don't make money, we know we're not getting it back. It's an unsecured loan, it's interest-free. That's really not an issue. So I don't know what they're going to do with the extra $150,000 still. The thing reviewing the records, first of all, I think it's important, I spent a lot of time with it. I certainly don't think they're doing anything fraudulent. I hear accusations of that, and I think that's absolutely not the case. The one thing I do think, though, is, Bike Fest has gone from making about $350,000 a year down to about $215,000 the last Bike Fest. So that's almost a 40% drop. I don't see a 40% drop in expenses, and this is where I think that if we, are contributing this amount, we need more oversight on some of the operational expenses. We spent FFEA, which is a conference, we spent $7,500. We spent $1,325 to take a single commissioner to Fort Myers. We spent $1,500 taking 3 volunteers to Gasparilla. We spent $500 on a dinner in Daytona. Did any of these expenses break the partnership? No, certainly not. But to me, it paints the picture of an organization that expense control and oversight needs to be tightened. And until I see that responsibility, I feel that we have given them what they need to continue events, to continue Bike Fest, and to continue growing, and give them time to come up with a plan of how they're going to do this and make this a go-forward organization without continuing taxpayer bailouts. Thank you.
Commissioner Peterson?
I think everybody knows I'm a supporter of the partnership. Probably one of the stronger supporters up here. I said it in the last meeting. I believe I started my comments and I ended my comments with the partnership must survive. Having said that, I look at the history of the partnership, 25 years, what they've accomplished. Bike Fest has grown into a major event. That's a compliment to them. I understand the economic development impact. Personally, and most people I talk to like the quality of life as a function of the events. My Bike Fest is not my favorite event they put on. They put on a lot of better events, in my opinion, local events that I think the entire community enjoys. So there's the quality of life factor, and then of course there's the whole Main Street revitalization, what they did downtown. I spoke with somebody today, who was against this, and my comment to them was, look where our downtown was 20, 25 years ago, and look where it is now. And the partnership was a big part of that. So, I'm a big supporter. I will support the partnership, whatever it takes to keep it afloat. I will compliment Al. I think his package does make some sense. To get the partnership through September to evaluate what they can get, from this CARES Act. We don't know that number, but I will go on the record and say that we've all agreed that we're going to deduct that from whatever we give this, give the partnership. But I'll go ahead and go on the record and say that money doesn't materialize. I'll be there to support the partnership again. I'm one of the more optimistic ones. I think some of these events will come back in the fall and spring, but everybody has their own opinion on that. If they don't come back, I would support the partnership, again. So I want to give the partnership peace of mind that, we're going to continue to support them, as best we can. My last comment is, if we don't keep the partnership alive, we can do what some municipalities have done, take it in-house, do it with staff, and that's not a good option. You lose the volunteer hours, the community support. I'm just convinced that the partnership can do it better than government. I'll stop right there. I'm a clear supporter of the partnership.
Commissioner Hurley?
I certainly support the partnership, and I understand the need that's here. I'm confused. I was confused 2 weeks ago when we talked about it. I'm confused when I listened to some of the remarks tonight. The partnership has made it very clear they're in uncharted waters. Nobody expected to be here. The city, and as great as we are, we weren't even prepared for a pandemic. Our nation wasn't prepared, nor was the world. So I would never try to hold the partnership board and those serving on that to a higher level than the rest of the world. When it comes to the financial statements, I understand being in business. I know what it takes. Being in politics, I understand the roles of that. If you're just going to say there's events that they put on, or you want to round it off to Bike Week and say that's it, but you have to understand the role of the partnership. One of the things that I'm so proud of in our town, and the reason we have things that no other town around us has, is because the Leesburg Partnership, in a sense, is really just an extension of the city of Leesburg. They do all the things that Leesburg doesn't have to do. We don't have to go out and hire staff. We don't have to go out and put them on our benefit packages. We don't have to spend the time and the resources coordinating it. The partnership does that. And the partnership is the only nonprofit organization that I've ever been able to see, excuse me, and I've served on dozens of nonprofit boards, that has the innate ability to bring about such volunteers and support, whether it's business owners, employees of businesses, or our residents who come out and volunteer. Whether we have little events or big events, the partnership's ability to bring our community together and to let us be one as a community, whether you're talking about one of the smaller events or up to our Bike Week, probably 90% of the people in this room have volunteered to do that. Name any other nonprofit that can put that together. I understand the trickle-down economics that this has not only in the city of Leesburg, but in Lake County and the region. I understand the money that is generated. I understand how successful a lot of our businesses in this room right here are because of the events that we put on. It's not just the aspect of the quality of life, which I enjoy. There are some events I enjoy, other events that others enjoy. So you have a lot of events, and that's what makes it quality of life. I have people tell me all the time, my friends are coming in from out of town for this event or that event, because that's who we are. I understand politics. I know what it takes to be able to get things done. There's not one thing. I've been serving on this commission now and going on my 8th year. This building and everything else that we've done, there's not another project anywhere that the partnership did not have their fingerprint on that somewhere. They were instrumental, those boards and the volunteers, putting organized events together to have discussions and charrettes and have all the things that it takes to bring us to the point where we design a building. Now, I will say I wish that somebody would have done a little better job designing the acoustics in here, because it sucks. But for $6 million, what do you want? So I understand that the partnership has a role, and they take trips. They do. And I get where Commissioner Roebuck's coming from. The partnership's not the only one that's ever went out and organized trips and took people there and bought them dinner. We go out. I've been on those trips. And they're not just, hey, let's go out and have a glass of wine and look at the ocean. It's taken us to meet with different chambers of commerce. It's taken us to meet with city managers, with businesses, with those who have changed their communities and those who have done things downtown, so that we can learn and bring those ideas, because we're the decision makers. So it would be a lack of foresight not to take your community leaders who are instrumental in bringing the change that you want to different places to be able to see what it is we're trying to accomplish. So I understand in these times we might have to stop that for a while, and we may have to hold back, but I would never hold that against them for having the foresight to say we need to do it. When we talk about we gave the partnership this $150,000, that frustrates me, because we didn't give the partnership anything. We told them we would take the only piece of property they have, the only thing that they can leverage during Bike Week to get a loan from so they can start putting their organization. We told them we would make them sell us the only piece of property they had. And then we would give them a loan at 0% interest, but they had to pay it back in 12 months. But then kind of under the radar, we'll say, if you can't, we understand. But we never made that clear, and go back and read the minutes and watch the video. There were some commissioners who were making it clear their opinion would be they would have to pay it back. So there's been no gift of $150,000 from the city of Leesburg. Secondly, what I understand tonight, and somebody can correct me, I'm being told that there is an ask for $300,000 if we don't get the CARES Act money, if we don't get some events that normally bring in some revenue. So what I'm hearing from my fellow commissioners is, let's just kick the can down the road and have one of these meetings every 3 or 4 months. I don't understand that. That's not how you do business. I understand being frugal. You want to talk about trying to save money? Shoot, I was in a fight in this room just a couple months ago when this commission just voted, hey, let's spend $3 million to build a teen center instead of buying one for $800,000 because we want to say it's a new building. Nobody was being real frugal back then, but here we are today being real frugal. I know we're going into a budget time, and this isn't the correct time to say, hey, we wish we would have known about this, but until March, we didn't know we had a pandemic. So why did we have to have a discussion in November about money in June when we didn't know there was a pandemic coming? So for me, yes, I understand where the city is at. I understand that we have an obligation to you, our taxpayers. I understand how many businesses are also represented in here and how many of you have volunteered and labored to help make this community great. And so I will promise you this. Now, if we kick the can down the road 3 months from now, I'll come back. You can only kick the can with me till December because I'm off the commission after that. But I'll still stand in the audience and fight because this town needs the Leesburg Partnership to continue helping us be the great city that we are.
Okay, as promised, we moved the public comment regarding this subject to now. Remember, please, 3 minutes. Please state your name and address.
Don Luckich. I live here in Leesburg, 1412 Mosswood Drive. For 20 some odd years, sold a lot of beer for the Rotary Club during the Bike Fest. One thing that was not mentioned tonight, in addition to the businesses that survive or do well during the Bike Fest, but also a lot of charitable organizations. I sold beer for 20 years. Our Rotary Club made a lot of money, but that money came back to the community. You know, and I'm not a member of the Leesburg Partnership. I have nothing to do with them anymore. But I've seen what the Leesburg Partnership can do. And you got to remember one thing. Last I heard, the Leesburg Partnership was the largest 3-day bike event in the country. It puts Leesburg on the map. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good rainy afternoon, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Jerry Galbraith, citizen, property owner, business owner, but I'm here also representing the Leesburg Sunset Rotary Club. You've all heard about the good things the partnership does for the community, and I'm here to tell you what the partnership has done for Sunset Rotary and the Center for the Arts. Over the past 18 years, Sunset Rotary has worked the Bike Fest at what is known as Beer Tent 6, which is on the corner of 6th and Main. In the last 8 years, we've earned $76,800 That's $9,610 per year, which we donate $6,000 to Forward Paths, helping age out youth in foster care, and $6,000 to the Center for the Arts to help fund what is known as Sunset Rotary Summer Camp. Last year, 98 students took part in the summer program, and because the Leesburg Partnership and the Sunset Rotary, the Center for the Arts was able to give 16 full scholarships to kids whose parents could not afford to pay. Without the partnership, those 98 kids would not have had the opportunity to be exposed to the arts. Almost 20 years ago, the Leesburg Partnership incubated and hatched the Center for the Arts until it grew wings and began to fly. I can't imagine Leesburg without a partnership. On Facebook yesterday, someone suggested that the city take over all the events and pass the profits on to the city residents. Maybe the city thinks it can take over the events. From what I've heard, I don't think you want to, but like Mardi Gras, however, some years back we went on a partnership vision tour to Delray Beach. Delray Beach had a new oceanfront boardwalk, some of you might remember, and I said to a city commissioner that the boardwalk would really make a good parade route for their Mardi Gras. And he responded, he said that they had to cancel Mardi Gras because it cost the city too much money. And I'm here to tell you this, that same year the Leesburg Partnership made $60,000. Supporting the Leesburg Partnership so that it can promote Leesburg is the best thing you can do for the city of Leesburg and the residents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commission. My name is Dr. Jasper. I come tonight, I echo the sentiments of Commissioner Christian and Commissioner Roebuck. My question and my concern is the financial accountability with the partnership. I know they've done tremendous things in the past, but that's my biggest concern as a taxpayer here in Leesburg. That's my biggest issue. My question is, what is the plan after September, after, let's say, they do get the funds for the $300,000? What are the steps? I know they made some comments or some statements, but do we have something on paper or financial statements or anything of that nature? I'm just saying that this is just a lot of money to be given to an organization. Are we setting precedents for other organizations, other nonprofits to come and ask the city as well for the same amount of funds? That's my question.
Thank you, Dr. Jasper.
Good afternoon. My name is Gus Grisard. I am a lifelong member of this community of Leesburg. And I want to appreciate everybody that's here this afternoon, especially this audience. Again, I think just looking out in the audience, it'll give you a sense of the commitment, the passion, and the need for the Leesburg Partnership to maintain its existence. As a realtor, as a broker, we've had a shop here for over 50 years. And one of the things that we do, we don't just sell homes. It's not brick and mortar that we market. It is the community. And I would challenge all of you on this commission right now making this important decision to really think back, if you can. If you were here 25, 27 years ago, if you can think back at what Leesburg offered its residents. What were those points of community, gathering, economic impact? All of these things have been just such staples and things that we have leveraged as a realtor community in promoting and drawing people to this great community. So that's one thing that I want to and I'm sure everybody in here is going to stand up and talk about how awesome the partnership is and what great things that they have done. But I want to appeal to the economic and the business aspect of this. I think everybody would agree that these are unprecedented times. And, nobody anticipated we would be in the situation that we're in. Now, there was comments about a P&L. If you're a business owner, I guarantee you, over the last 2 or 3 months, you've looked at your P&L and said, what the hell did I spend that money on? Why did I spend that money on that? Everybody is tightening their belt. You as commissioners of the city, you are charged with being good stewards of the city's taxpayers' money, okay? Commissioner Christensen, I appreciate the fact that you are appealing you just do not want to raise taxes to offset and to fund this. I get that. And I was impressed with the numbers that you were, citing. But my question is, have you done the research, and can you tell me now the revenue, the tax revenue that these events that the Leesburg Partnership puts on, the taxes that these businesses pay to the city for all these events? Do you understand the full impact of what that tax revenue is to the city?
You're saying for the entire city, or the numbers that the county gives out that you can't really quantify, or the people in the city of Leesburg who benefits? Not just business owners who come to the partnership or hotel owners, but I can do a real snapshot of people in my church, about 300, and they probably say they have no direct benefit from the economic benefits of the partnership. So if you want to quantify the entire overall county revenue,
I'm specifically talking about budgetary purposes.
Somebody said $1 billion. Somebody said $1 billion.
Okay.
Somebody said we make 300,000 to 200,000 income.
So is it fair to say you aren't aware of a specific number?
Oh, I read the numbers every year.
Excuse me, we're not going to get into debate.
But here's my point.
Public comment.
My point is, you're talking about funding this additional $150,000 because you don't want to raise taxes. My point is, you lose the substantial revenue of taxable income to the city, you're going to have to raise taxes to offset that revenue loss. So that's one thing I want to make sure that we're remembering. So I've got 2 asks for you before, and I'll wrap it up. First, go on the record, make a public record that you are going to forgive the $78,000 note. Okay, I understand it's unsecured. Let's just get that cleaned up and make sure that that note is forgiven. Secondly, yes, there's an ask here for an additional $150,000. In times like this, it demands transparency. Okay? I would suggest, and Dan, Commissioner Roebuck, I appreciate you responding to my emails and the conversations that we've had. I suggested or had the idea of forming some sort of task force, some sort of work group where you earmark the full $300,000, and how that is paid out isn't necessarily in one lump sum check. That there is a work group that's a combination of the partnership, city employees, and maybe even some residents that make up this work group or task force. And it is a very scientific mathematical calculation based on revenue lost year over year. This is how much money will be funded on an ongoing basis up to and not to exceed $300,000. Okay? There's a way that you can protect the city from a possible bad investment or raising taxes. I'm pleading to this commission to don't gamble with the future of the Leesburg. Because, if the Leesburg Partnership goes away, what part of Leesburg goes with it? And again, I don't know if you guys remember what Leesburg looked and felt like 25, 27 years ago, but we are a better community, we are a tighter community, and we are proud of what we offer our residents and the people that visit. So I appreciate your time. And again, think about what that possible loss in tax revenue would mean and how many taxes you'd have to increase to offset it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I avoided doing this because, like you said, the acoustics in this room need help. I couldn't understand half of what went on, but I'll make my speech anyway. I'm Kent Saul. I represent 603 registered people who have come with their classic cars to downtown Main Street.
It only happens because of the partnership. They back it, they support it, and we bring a lot of people downtown to enjoy what you guys may well lose if you don't act. Because in 3 months, what happens if Joe doesn't stick around and fight this battle that you and I both know is important to not just Leesburg, but to many, many, many business people that are trying and struggling through this pandemic to stay in business. We've lost a lot of people already. We'll lose more. And I think we need to act now so they're assured that sticking around for 3 more months or 5 more months or a couple more years is going to pay off. You really need to move and support something that is supported downtown Leesburg.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, my name is Seth Trees. I'm with the Coffee Snob. I own the Coffee Snob on Main Street. And so the partnership has been very helpful for us. I will say, I do not think that we would be where we are if it was not for the Main Street manager, Joni Smalley. I would like to ask Commissioner Roebuck, did you say in the last time they received funds that they were receiving funds for 2 employees?
Oh, we didn't specify how they used the funds, but they indicated to us with $300,000 they would keep 2 employees, and the salary for $150 they could also keep 2 employees. So the difference between the $150 and the $300 is not for additional employees.
Okay, and how many do they have now?
1.
Okay, I would like to request that if the funds are provided, that they be held to a financial book, and that any promises that they made, I did hear a vague promise that they would hire back the Main Street manager. I ask that they would be held to that, if they are funded, and I just want to say she has helped us tremendously, and I would like to see her back.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Appreciate your time. Lifelong resident of Leesburg in Lake County. My family's owned a business here for many years.
Could we have your name, please?
It's Phil Braun, sorry.
Thank you.
I've been here a long time. I know most of you personally. We've talked about this issue, or we've talked about other issues, and I appreciate your time. I don't want to repeat everything everyone said. I could talk about the partnership for a long time. I've been involved with it for a very long time, and I feel like I'm a pretty credible person. I feel like there's been a lot of credible people over the years that have been on that board who have been part of the partnership, and I think you're going to hear from a lot of them today. And I think they built something, not me personally, but there have been a lot of people before me, and there'll be a lot of people after me that have built something in the last 25 years that you cannot replace, that you cannot rebuild. And if it shutters, I think you'll lose a lot. Can it be rebuilt? Yes, over time, but it'll take a long time, and there'll be a big loss. I appreciate what Commissioner Hurley and Commissioner Peterson, sorry, used to calling you Mike, have said, and I agree with them. And I do think it is a significant amount of money. I don't think it's not, and I do agree with the oversight request, and I think there should be some oversight. But I can tell you that the benefits to the city of Leesburg are important, and I just echo what you have already talked about and said. Thank you.
David Serdar, I've retired down here. I'm a business owner, retired commercial cleaner. I'm also part of Alcoholics Anonymous, big time. And we have meetings at Beacon College when Bike Fest is here. They come in from all over the country, a lot of bikers. And it's a great program, working with Beacon College. I know Mr. Haggerty, and I've met, I believe, Mr. Cherry, the whole board was out at Angelo's. It's a benefit to society. The partnership is a well-run organization. A couple years ago, I helped break it down. They talk about people helping putting it together. You got to put it down too. And I've got a certificate from that because I think it's such a nice thing. But you got to learn from the past to build the future. And you are the wise ones. You know, we have never been in this situation before. The virus is out there. You have to take away your thoughts, but, you know, Bike Fest and the partnership, you can't beat it. They have the theaters, they do the events, and, you know, I'm in favor of it. I love being down here, retired. Always dreamed of being down in Florida. You know, a lot of people, they've been here all their life, but most of us, retired down to God's country. You know, and the partnership, Leesburg, hey, it's a great thing. And maybe there's a lot of things that can make downtown better. But if you take the partnership away, that's kicking the can down the road. But, you know, you're the leaders. Wars are fought with weapons. They're won by men and women. It's the spirit of the men and women that follow, and people that lead, like you, that gain the victory.
Thank you, Mr. Sedor.
Good evening. My name's Roger Croft. I am a citizen of the great city of Leesburg. I live right downtown. And the thing that I'd like to say is, the question is the quality of life enhanced by the Leesburg Partnership? 100% yes. Okay, our lifestyle is better here in the city of Leesburg because of the partnership. But as a businessman, I always look at my business, and no matter how successful you are, I always ask the question, could we have been more successful? Also, as a businessman, I always say, is there something that we could do better? So I think there's got to be, there's got to be a look in the mirror. If we do grant this money to the partnership, they have to accept the responsibility of taking those funds and demand more oversight of themselves. Because, I know that the pandemic, or you can blame a lot of things on a pandemic, but we could have had 3 days of rain at Bike Fest, and the result would have been the same. So we need that oversight, and we need to have a better strategy. If we're going to give them that amount of money, there has to be some oversight on their part, and maybe from the city, because it's taxpayers' funds that are giving them that money. And I belong to and volunteer for a lot of charities that have benefited greatly by the money that we raise at Bike Fest. They are a very important part of our community, but they also have to be self-sustainable. And, are we going to be in this same, place in 2 more years? Or if we have a 3-day rain out at Bike Fest? I mean, we got to have a plan for that. But I love the partnership. They make the city a lot better, but we also have to have a responsibility that goes with that money. So, thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Last chance. Okay. I'd like to go ahead. I don't think we need a yes/no vote, but I'd like to go ahead and hear how the commissioners feel about this and what they recommend. Andy, roll call.
And we're voting on.
There's not a motion on the floor.
I know there's not a motion. I just want your understanding of, yes, we're going to give it to them now. No, we're not going to, and it's pretty much going to be what you said while you were speaking before. Just give us a sense of where you stand.
Yes, ma'am. I'm still in the same position we were with the granting of $150,000 in totality. I don't know if Al told the partnership to give us their land to purchase, because we really didn't need to purchase a lot behind Chicago hot dog. So I think that was part of the package that was presented to the city to purchase. So that's not like the city of Leesburg came knock and said, give me your property. That was part of the plan to get 3 votes to approve the $150,000 package deal, which included the relinquish of the Mardi Gras debt and also paying of the meters at $8,000 plus the $60,000 for the lot and the $78,000 quote unquote loan. So my position is still the same. I think I'm not kicking the can down the road. I think $150,000 is sufficient, included the $34,000 that we gave in the civic funding. So that's really $180,000 that has been given, excluding the rent and the utilities and whatever else the city manager supports or the city supports in activities. So this is not just the city of Leesburg, all we give to the Leesburg Partnership. Let's make no mistakes about that. We keep hearing about the Bike Fest. We're not hearing about some of the other projects, and we say COVID-19. We all have been affected by COVID-19, and we all had to make adjustments in our local businesses and our local families, and I think the partnership is no different. Everyone should have to make cuts. I don't think you get rid of an employee that you need. The 150, 78,000 plus 60 would afford you to bring that employee back. Maybe Joe needs to take a pay cut. Maybe we need to cut back on some expenses. Maybe the board need to say, if we're going to go for the rest of the year, we need to cut back expenses. So that goes back to the board of directors saying, do we want our organization to be sufficient? You can't say, let's run to the city every time we need funding because it's a great organization. We must, just like any other business owner here, I'm a lifelong Leesburg resident and I live in Leesburg. I don't just work in Leesburg, I live in Leesburg. I don't live outside of Leesburg, so I don't just come for special events. I live here. So some of the comments that came up, do we understand the economic impact? Well, you see numbers all across the country and we say economic impact. Well, there was no Bike Fest this year, even in the pandemic. I didn't see too many Leesburg businesses go out of business. So we can talk numbers all we want to talk numbers, but if a Leesburg resident is not being financially impacted, not the hotel owner or not the worker that gets a little overtime, we're talking about Leesburg residents who benefit. And my nonprofit, we park cars, we benefit from Bike Fest. It's hot for 3 days. We make a couple $1,000, but it's about coming out and supporting Leesburg Bike Fest. So I think $150,000 is a big gesture for the city council to a nonprofit in our city. I think that shows that we do support the Leesburg Partnership. So Madam Mayor, I'm still on the original agreement. Now, I'm flexible on whether it's a loan or a gift, but I think I'm at that level.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Roebuck, did you want to speak?
Sure. Yeah. So, and I think that to a lot of the comments, there's no question that this board supports the partnership. I mean, I don't think anyone on here would consider themselves anti-partnership. I know I volunteered countless hours, given money. I still support the partnership. I maybe don't support $300,000 because when I look at the numbers and what they say they need, it's $150,000. So what I am, though, willing to do there is, I'm with Commissioner Christian. You know, does the loan, do we forgive it? I'm okay. I don't mind forgiving that. One of the issues that the board had with the property sale and why they did not want to go forward with that is because of the credit line. And I spoke with Sandy and Joe, and my understanding is that for roughly 5 days during Bike Fest, they need $62,000 in cash, which to start their bank. Right, because they have to give all the bars their cash for change. I have no problem with the city guaranteeing a $62,000 credit line for 5 days during Bike Fest pledged against the partnership's assets. You know, I think there's zero risk to the city there, and you know, I'd be fine with that. That takes that out of the way. But if we do these things, you know, we forgive the $78,000. That's just a grant. We buy the lot and we guarantee their $62,000 that they need every year during Bike Fest. For me, that would definitely be contingent on them rehiring a Main Street manager. And then we go from there. That gives them a full year to get things figured out. If they have events, they could make the $300,000 by themselves. If they don't have events, they're not going to have expenses. So that's where I'm at.
Thank you, Commissioner. Mr. Peterson, would you want to say anything?
Well, I'm glad to hear the commissioner's comments, the last round of comments here. Because we had a 5-0 vote a month ago, so I thought we were all closer together, so it's good news. The only thing I would add to that, obviously I'm okay with a loan going to a grant. I met with the partnership, I pushed hard on the lot, trying to drive this number down. I could go either way. Yeah, I could carve the lot, they could keep the lot and keep their line of credit in place. I would support Dan's idea on funding the $62,000 at Bike Fest. The only comment I would make above and beyond is earlier I said, you know, I right now support enough money to get them through this application for this CARES Act. We're saying September. I mean, help me out, Al, but you know, there's possibly that may not happen by September. I mean, could that process drag into October, November, or is that
it's possible,
Okay,
but I don't think that's likely.
Okay, where I was going with that is just being sure the money we're giving them now is enough. I'd like to avoid coming back talking about this in September and make this a little bit more permanent. But in the same breath, I think we all want to see what's coming, out of these federal dollars. I don't think we have any idea what that money would be. So in summary, I might support bumping the 78 up a little bit, just to pad it a little bit, so we don't have a gun to our head in September. Get through the CARES Act, determine what they're going to obtain through that, if anything, and regroup at that point. We are going to have to regroup at some point, but I'd just like maybe a little more time on it, and I think that would take some pressure off the partnership. But I still stand here and will try to support them any way I can.
Commissioner Hurley, did you want to add anything?
Sure, thank you. Just a couple things for me. Number one, I want to say I appreciate everyone that's come out tonight and spoke and gave us your input to help us with our decisions. I do understand, and listen, I want to be the first one to say, I've already made this statement in other meetings and publicly. Lake County benefits a lot from the partnership and the city of Leesburg. The county does. And I think that the county also has a responsibility to the partnership and the city of Leesburg. When you start talking about the head and bed taxes and all the revenue that they receive, and I do know that we do receive portions of things, but I think that they should help, and I feel confident between some of the commissioners on there and what Al has said with the county manager that they would probably push that. So that's encouraging to me. I think they should, and I like the idea that possibility is there. What I want to do is, number one, I don't want to take the property, and I'll explain to you. I understand what Commissioner Roebuck is saying. We take the property and then we guarantee them, we loan them $60,000 for 5 days. That's good until January, when me and her are no longer on here, and next year it's two other commissioners who think that's a stupid idea. And then 2 years from now, when you three guys aren't on here. And so I don't want to take something that additional changes could be made to down the road. I don't think that the property, what are we going to do with it if we had it? So I don't think that I think that it should be two things for me. This is what I'm pushing for tonight. I would like to give them a grant totaling $150,000. That's a gift. It's a grant. There it is. And a guarantee of up to an additional $150,000 if they are not able to get money through CARES Act and other maybe possible grants or activities that get canceled that normally generate revenue. So for me, I don't want the property. I'd like to give them $150,000 now with a guarantee that if other funding falls through, that the city will step up and make sure that the partnership continues doing what it does in Leesburg.
Thank you. There's several changes that I think need to be done with the partnership. First off, with all this money and the COVID and everything else, I don't think the plan to have a November Bike Fest followed immediately by an April Bike Fest is really feasible. So I want them to reconsider holding off on the November Bike Fest. In addition to that, the monies and whatnot have got to be more visible and open to the city. I've had problems with some of their information and whatnot sharing to the city over the years, and I think that that's got to be opened. The trips for right now until the end of the year can be put on hold. I'm not saying delete them completely next year, but for right now, there's ways to save money. So I really think that at this point in time, we have got to put a motion before, otherwise this can go on all night. We've got to put a motion before this commission to see what we're going to do. And I'd like, first of all, for Mr. Minner to repeat the plan, and that plan is to hold off with the additional monies until September. Now, before we get started, that is $23 million coming to Lake County. I've been reading all the letters this week saying how much we're doing for the county. Well, it's time that the county don't treat us like the poor cousin and come across with some money because of the importance for the partnership to the county and the people here. We have connections now with the Bureau of Governmental Affairs in Washington, which has been put in place that we can follow up with them to make sure that the county is distributing that money and they're not sitting on it. So yes, there are ways that we can make sure that that money is passed out. And I guarantee that I will take care of that for you. So right now, Mr. Minner, please.
Yeah, the recommendation, I think, is pretty simple. There was some procedural recommendations from my office to you. I think you probably should pass on those. So I would sum it up from discussion, and I'll add just a couple things, but it sounds like if you blend the hearing with the recommendation, it's to provide the Leesburg Partnership with $78,120 immediately, less the $19,530 that we've paid. We waive the requirement that that's a loan, and we call it a grant, and we encourage the partnership to apply for Federal Care Act relief.
Thank you.
Could I ask a follow-up question of the partnership?
Absolutely.
So, Sandy, just make sure we're on the same page. My number for 2 employees at kind of the rates you guys have been discussing, plus your operating, assuming we're not charging you utilities, is a little shy of $12,000 a month.
Well, Commissioner, right now with the 1 employee, we're at under $8,000 a month. We have not had a discussion with the board as to what the salary of our Main Street manager, what salary we could offer. So
that's directionally.
It's probably going to be in that neighborhood, yes, sir. But it's not really my decision.
I understand. Okay. Just getting an idea. That gets 78,000. That's a little over 6 months.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. I just wanted to know how much time we were buying them.
I'm sorry?
I wanted to know how much time we were buying them before the 78,000 ran out.
Yeah, and that's the difficult question. That becomes up to the partnership. That ranges from and it's where the spreadsheet's good. It's up to the partnership.
Right.
Their existing pre-COVID numbers were about $19,000 a month. Okay, so depending on how they skin the cat from there, they could squeeze it down as low as $8,000 a month. So it's up to them is the answer.
Right.
But that's the parameter. They haven't put the plan in public. There's been pontification, but no action. So it's up. The commission doesn't know.
Okay, Mr. Morrison, is there a possibility I can make the motion so that we can go ahead and get this done?
You would have to yield the gavel in order to make a motion.
Okay.
Well, I'll make it if you just tell me what you want.
Okay, good. Okay, I believe the plan that Al's come up with is going to work. I really do.
Okay, I'll make a motion to turn the $78,000 into a grant and disperse the remaining funds immediately.
Yes.
And
that we wait to get the money, hear the money from the Lake County by September.
Okay, so moved.
Can we have a second on this?
May I ask the partnership a question?
I'll second it so you can ask a question.
I guess I just want to ask, how long will $78,000 last? I mean, I've heard September, December.
Well,
I know there's a reason I'm asking.
I think assuming that we are able to bring our Main Street manager back at a level that is agreeable to her and us as well, I think the $12,000 that Commissioner Roebuck was mentioning is probably going to be in the neighborhood. So $70,000 is going to buy us about 6 months.
Okay. I was asking, and my purpose of my question was asking in the context of, is it enough? Because, I don't want to be back here in September. Jay was proposing 150,000, and we're at 78. I didn't know if we could compromise and, make that 100,000 or something. Just take a little pressure off everybody.
Well, my feeling was that that would buy them enough time that if they don't get money from the county, they could decide to sell us the lot. If they get money from the county, then then they can keep it.
Okay.
Sorry. Did we have a second on that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Yes.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Yes.
Commissioner Hurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Christian?
Yes.
Mayor Dennison?
Yes. That's it. Thank you. Are there any city attorney items?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Any city manager items?
Just two brief ones. As part
Ladies and gentlemen, the meeting is still going on. Please keep the noise down.
As part of our COVID response, we lowered the power cost adjustment on the monthly bills to 0. We did that specifically for the months of May and June. We have gone back and reviewed that. I just wanted to inform the commission that I think we could probably continue that 0 power cost adjustment into into July, and then after July comes, we're probably going to need to start pushing it back up a little bit incrementally. I can provide you a fuller plan. It is within my authority to do. So for July, we'll go 0, and I'll provide you a fuller report. And the last thing I would like to do, I don't know if DC Maudlin's here, but everybody knows that Mr. Maudlin is retiring on July 11th, and this is his last city commission meeting. He'll be with us for the budget workshops, but I wanted to recognize DC and thank him for all his service.
Roll call, please.
Commissioner Peterson?
Nothing tonight.
Commissioner Hurley?
No, ma'am.
Commissioner Roebuck?
Well, I certainly think we made a mistake with the 4th of July. I also hope I'm wrong. I think it's not wise to ignore the medical professionals and the law enforcement, but that's what we did. So hopefully people will take the social distancing seriously and wear masks. That was the other recommendation from Dr. Berger was wear masks. So please do so. And other than that, I hope everyone has a happy and safe 4th of July. Thanks.
Echo Commissioner Roebuck. Hopefully everyone continues to wear their mask, stay safe, continue to practice safe distancing, and just remain vigilant. Take care of one another. Hopefully what we did tonight is good for the overall of Leesburg, and everyone can feel a part of what we've done on tonight. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. I want to thank everybody that was here tonight. I know most of them have gone, but see, things can get done if everybody gets together. But I also ask you to realize there's always two sides to every story. So keep your minds open. Debate is healthy, okay? Don't come in and, your way or the highway. So please remember that. Also, we are going to have the 4th of July celebration, and I repeat what Commissioner Roebuck said. Please, you have a responsibility to everybody. Keep the masks on, social distancing, and have fun. Thank you. We are adjourned.